there could be a month where I do 5 podcast interviews and I do them after school, or I, tell my math teacher, sorry, but I have to go interview Anthony Davis. I can't be at school. I feel like that should be a fair reason.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
Started as a kid with a team to believe in. Every win and loss left my heart still beating. Year after year through the rain and the sun, learning that faith is what makes us strong.
The kick is up, and the kick is good afternoon, and welcome back to the Superfan Diaries. I'm your host, J.R. Green, recording from our studios on Broadway in downtown Nash Vegas, bringing you the biggest sports, the biggest moments, and the biggest fans, celebrating passionate sports figures and their unique stories. Yes, legends. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share your own game day traditions or stories online. Today, we have a guest who's going to make every adult in the room feel slightly embarrassed about how little they know about the NBA. I'm J.R. Green, and this is a story about what happens when a teenager walks into a room full of NBA legends and somehow, some way, she's the one asking the tough questions. Before the podcast, before Blake Griffin and Dwight Howard sat across from her, before she had her own show, she was just a kid who knew everything about basketball. And somehow, that turned into one of the most unique voices in sports media today. She's 18 years old. She runs her own NBA, WNBA podcast, and she has already interviewed legends that most of us only watch on television. Ladies and gentlemen, the host of Sloane Knows, Sloane Knows! Welcome to the show, Sloane.
Thank you. I loved that introduction. That was so fun to listen to.
Well, you deserve it. I mean, you've got so
Thank
much
you.
energy, and I've had a chance, as many people now after this show will go on and take a view of so much of your work out there, and you deserve it. And, just for you today, I'm wearing a basketball jersey. It's the
I
only one
love
I can
it.
find.
I saw that strong.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. I mean,
Oh,
see-
wow.
Oh,
strong.
yeah.
That is
That's
very
got
cool.
Get the little Looney Tunes
Space
out
Jam,
there.
Space Jam 1 was like one of my favorite movies growing up. And I liked Space Jam 2 with LeBron, but I think I prefer the MJ one.
You get right back into the biggest debate that seems that
Yeah.
everyone wants to talk about is between these two people of, well, just get down to it. Who did the movie better? Well, I have an actual 14-year-old and a 15-year-old, so I'm right in the middle of everything, Sloane, when it comes to history of these movies. So
I see.
I used to watch them all.
Do you know which one they like better?
They like them both. I mean,
Really?
you push them a little bit toward Michael Jordan just because when
Yeah.
they were kids, that's the original. And I'm like,
Of
a lot of
course.
things go original. And no offense to Looney Tunes and the entire movie-making industry, but Sloane, let's talk about being creative. Right now, everyone just wants to do a revamp of an old movie.
It's true.
I mean,
It is
Revenge of
true.
the Nerds, they're coming out with a new one too. I mean,
Yeah.
like it's just, let me just redo what's already been done instead of give me something creative, which, hey, talk about you. I mean, here I am with someone who's done something amazing creative, something very new. And let's talk about in terms of how you got involved watching the NBA, obsessed with. My question is this: how did you become so obsessed with more NBA versus sneakers? Because my kids are obsessed with sneakers.
Well, I would say my NBA obsession is probably here, and my obsession with all things clothes, fashion, shoes is not that far behind.
Okay.
I'm still very obsessed with all of that. I think I just decide to talk about it less. But yeah, no, I am definitely obsessed. I don't think that word is an exaggeration. It all started really at a young age for me. I've always loved to memorize things. That's always been something I've been really interested in. And so when I was about 3 years old, my dad claims that I was able to recite the whole entire Yankees roster.
Wow.
I guess, there wasn't really iPhones really then. It was like the year that the iPhone started. So I guess we don't have it on video, but he says that was possible. And I think that's sort of where my obsession started, because after that, he noticed I was into sports. My dad played soccer at Yale, so he's a huge
Wow. He
fan
is
as well.
not only an athlete, he is
No.
a smart athlete.
Yes, exactly. D1 smart athlete, all the things. And so he sort of threw me into it, and we started going to all various types of sporting events, and I just became obsessed. And I didn't just love watching the games. I loved knowing all the information and memorizing it and sort of being a freak about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were able to memorize this. When
Yeah.
did basketball stop becoming something you just watched and became, just like you said, obsession? I actually know more about this than your own dad.
Yeah. So I had actually always watched basketball and really liked it. And when I was about 7, that's when Steph Curry really blew up. So I had started to watch the Warriors on TV, and my parents surprised me with a trip to San Francisco to see the Warriors play. And it was the 2015 Warriors. I'm 7 years old. And when I got to see that, with my 2 eyes, I don't know how a kid couldn't fall in love. It was so special. And, I'm wearing a really cool Warriors jacket.
I know. I'm still shocked. Now. But what about the Clippers or the Lakers? Was it just
I get
they're in
why
your backyard?
Of course. I get why that is confusing. But both of my parents were born in New York City. They're LA transplants. And so my dad is actually I'll get into that. He sort of converted to being a Warriors fan with me, but he was a pretty big Knicks fan growing up. And then my mom also was born in New York. And so because of that, we don't really have any family ties to LA teams. It's more family hatred for LA teams, because they're New York.
Of course,
people.
You're New York.
So I didn't feel a connection to the New York teams, but I also didn't feel a connection to the LA teams. And so then sort of when I fell in love with Steph and his game was when I chose the Warriors to be my team.
Very cool. All right, now I've got this. I've picked it up, and I can relate because I lived in Los Angeles for a short. I did. I lived for a short period of time. I loved it. I obviously cheered heavily for the Lakers. I know this sounds crazy, but I actually dated a Laker girl back in the day. So
look at you.
I was really focused on the Lakers, but I'll tell you, one of the things is I talk too much. And when I would go to the games, I certainly wouldn't watch her. I was too busy getting to meet and talk to more people, of which, that didn't work out too well for me.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I did become a fan of the Lakers. I got to go through another, what I'll call a little bit more of that LeBron time. Excuse me, not LeBron. LeBron's now, but Kobe time. And I mean, that was just so big back in the day with the team and just pulling that out and being a part of LA. But then I moved to New York and I became a fan of the Giants. The Knicks just weren't very good right then. So I wasn't able to jump into it. But
if you want to become a bandwagon Knicks fan, literally today would be the day to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's right now because right now it's the hottest thing in the world.
Yes, exactly.
Well, speaking of that and some of the interviews you've done, let's, in terms of some of the things you've done in Sloane Knows, can you describe the show in your own words?
I'd love to. So Sloane Knows, the idea of the show is the NBA and the WNBA through the perspective of a teenage girl. Sports is obviously, in my opinion, the universal language. People on all 7 continents, all over the world, are huge sports fans. And so it always surprised me, if that's the case, why is it predominantly men talking about sports in media? And why is it also predominantly, older men talking about sports in media?
No offense taken. None at all.
Okay, good. And as, a young teenage girl who I always felt, sort of like you said, how are you not obsessed with shoes? I am. But I'm also obsessed with basketball and pop culture and so many of the other things. And so it was really important to me that I was that voice that I never saw. And, I love watching Stephen A. Smith, but I don't have the same opinions as him. I think our opinions are usually shaped by our life, and our perspectives. And he's a 60-something-year-old dad, I'm a teenage girl. So we're going to look through sports through a different lens. And I wanted to be the voice for other girls like me.
Oh, I think it's amazing. It's what I'll say, when we even built this show, there haven't been a lot of shows about fans, about the passion of super fans, because just like you said, everyone is so focused on, not to say old school media, I'm a part of that, but it's old school media focused on the stats, of which you clearly can memorize really well. But it's geared probably 90%, Sloane knows, it's geared toward men. I think I'm thrilled to be able to tell you, I believe our show is 60% male, 40% female.
That's amazing.
In terms of viewers and listeners. And I'm so proud of that. And
that's incredible.
I think as you get through to a lot of media, it hasn't happened. So I've got another question for you, which you just raised, being 18. Well, you got started when you were 16. And so let's just
I actually started when I was 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even better. And you got that in terms of the, they always say the tipping point of hours. You got to get so many hours before you become an expert.
Exactly.
So you've gotten a start since you were 13.
Yeah.
But I don't know a lot, Sloane knows, but I do know that if you get started before the age of 18, you have to, I believe, have your parents heavily involved. Were your parents supportive, and how did they help?
Yeah. Well, like I've said, from the beginning of this, my dad is also a huge basketball fan. So he was always super supportive. And my mom is the most badass woman sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, but it's okay to say
badass is fine.
She's the most badass woman I've ever met. And so the mix of a dad who loves sports and a badass mom, I think it merged perfectly to create a girl who wants to promote girl power and sports in one. So they've been unbelievably supportive. I actually grew up playing competitive soccer.
Okay.
And
no surprise, because your dad was an NCAA athlete.
Yes, no, it's true. And so for people who are, I don't know, I think sometimes people know about the Southern California soccer circuit, that's driving all over the country for games. Oh. And my parents have always been willing to literally drive me across the country, anywhere, anytime, for any game. And so when it shifted to this, they were willing to do the same, which is amazing. I'm so grateful for this.
Yeah, they basically get to take you to locations around their time, and you don't feel bad about missing a game or doing any impact that would affect the whole team.
Yeah, I mean, it's also pretty cool for them because I get invited to a lot of cool things where I get to have a +1. So I think my parents maybe might be a little happy that they get to meet, at least for my dad, some of his favorite athletes. I've been the one to, introduce him to, which has been really cool.
All right. So now getting back to the show.
Yeah.
It features games in terms of really creative games like Takes Hotter Than Kelly Jr. and Muggsy or Minute.
Yes.
Which, just for our listeners, sounds absolutely fantastic. I love the detailed questions where you basically place a star. I mean, I saw it. I saw these videos, and for you all listening, be sure to go out there and check out what she's doing. But you'll pull up all these different stars that they have to pick. And I love watching these superstars have to say, oh, I don't want to pick against my teammate.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that one ended up being Michael Jordan. How did these games come together, and who's writing this stuff? Is it all you?
Yeah, so all those games, and when I play games like that, a lot of it is a mix of me and then my producing partner, Nick. Okay. But what's super cool is, so for instance, the Takes Hotter Than Kelly Oubre Jr. idea was something that I started at the beginning of my podcast. I sort of grown out of that a little, but that was my favorite segment ever. And the reason why that was my favorite segment ever was because, so Kelly Oubre Jr. is a very, very handsome basketball player. He's also been a model and a lot of things like that. And I felt that Takes Hotter Than Kelly Oubre Jr., that title, which I made up, was the perfect way to incorporate being a teenage girl. And then also because the name is so teenage girly, talking about a celebrity crush, right? But then making that segment actually talk about deep basketball knowledge. So that's always important to me, that you sort of have that juxtaposition. But then, there's a
You just said juxtaposition. I mean, that's a big word for an 18-year-old.
I mean, I had to be studying for the ACT for a while, so I had to get my vocabulary up. But, something else that I do is I love to play this game at the end of every episode where I ask players and athletes trivia about themselves. So the idea is the podcast is called Sloane Knows, and I do know, but do you know? And that was super fun. I got that idea from an influencer sort of called Nardwuar, and his content is with like rappers and musicians. He would ask them questions about, he would say to Travis Scott, for instance, ask Travis Scott about his second grade teacher. And he's like, how do you know my second grade teacher's name? And I used to watch those clips when I was little, and I was like, that's so cool. Like, I want to show players that I've done enough research that even they might not know what I'm talking about. So that's how I think of things like that.
I love it. Now, your very first guest on the show, I believe, was Blake Griffin, or one of them.
Yes. All right. Yes. That was the first episode that we put out, but we had banked a bunch more because that is not possible to really be the first.
Well, let everybody know, who is Blake Griffin, because we may have a lot of listeners that never heard of Blake Griffin, and he is a household name in a lot of circuits. But for people that don't know him, who is he?
Yeah, Blake Griffin is a retired NBA superstar who is now actually a commentator. And he is known for his tenure on the Los Angeles Clippers. He was part of a group called the Lob City Clippers, which was Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Jordan. And they were an explosive young team. It was sort of the first time the Clippers had really been good. Sorry to all those Clippers fans, known for their crazy slam dunks. So he's a crazy dunker. He went to Oklahoma. He's just an all around really cool guy.
I love it. Well, Clipper Darrell, he loves him, and he's a super
Yes,
fan for the
I
Clippers.
love Clipper Darrell. He's so cool. I always hear his screams, when I'm at the Clippers games.
I love it. Well, he's definitely been on the show. We love him. We love him. All right, now, when you interviewed Blake, were you nervous?
To be honest with you,
Yes. No. Okay.
I wasn't, which is crazy. But there's a lot of players that I have been nervous for. I just don't think they maybe are who everyone else would expect. I think that with, a player like Blake Griffin, for instance, I've done so much research on him my whole life when it wasn't for a podcast. I just love him as a player. And so I really knew that I knew him front and back. So I didn't feel nervous. But then there's been players like, for instance, Juan Toscano Anderson, who is he is a Mexican, one of the only Mexican players in the NBA. He's been in and out of the G League, but he had a tenure on the Warriors where he was a huge fan favorite. And he became one of my favorite players for his heart. Really, there's a clip where he dives into the scorer's table to try to throw the ball back into the game. And it's things like that I love to see. And JTA, which is his nickname, is someone that hasn't been talked to as much by the media. And so that was an interview that I was nervous for because I knew that I was going to be someone to really uncover more, whereas Blake Griffin, the world knows. It was more just a fun conversation, if that makes sense.
No, I love it. Also, you're finding, individuals that aren't getting the front page of the New York Times with what they're doing. So
exactly. And that's really important to me. Yeah.
Well, I love that. Now, but on the flip side, you've also had interviews with Dwight Howard, Richard Jefferson, Baron Davis. These are not small names. How on earth are you getting these interviews at the age of, my gosh, maybe you were 14, 15, 16?
Yeah. Well, so at my elementary school, in sixth grade, which is the year that then we went from elementary school to middle school, we all got to pick a quote. And we got to give a speech to our whole student body about why that quote meant something to us. And the quote that I chose was, if you don't shoot, you can't make it. Of course, it had to do with basketball, classic. And I really took that quote and ran with it. And, there's 438 something current players in the NBA. I mean, there's, take that, times it by 100 for the people that have ever played in the NBA. At some point, if you continue shooting your shot, someone is going to say yes. And there's also such an extreme brotherhood in the NBA and sisterhood in the WNBA, where I really think that when players find something that they like and a media outlet where they feel comfortable, they're really kind in, sharing that. And as an example, I was partners with Draymond Green, who's my favorite player, as you can tell, Warriors fan, for 2 years. And Draymond has been an incredible mentor to me. And he's also been an incredible talent booker. He really took me under his wing and has been incredible in helping me book other players and get me into these rooms. And it all just started because Draymond had seen my work on social media, sent me an email, and we connected. And so, I think
dominoes, the
exactly,
dominoes just fall and right in your place.
No pun intended, but don't be afraid to shoot your shot.
I love it. All right. Has there ever been a guest who's tested your knowledge, someone who tried to stump you and actually came close to doing it? Obviously, if you got Draymond Green involved, he's an entertaining character. I mean, this guy's got a lot going on. I could see him setting someone up to say, all right, see if you could do this. Let's try to stump him.
Well, so as an 18-year-old, I was born in 2007. And so I would say, immense knowledge about today's NBA. But it's difficult for me to feel as much of an expert when we're talking about, the NBA in 1972. My parents weren't even born then. So, it's hard. So I think
I wasn't either, by the way. I'm just happy to tell everybody I wasn't either yet.
Exactly. And so I think that there's times where people make references to the old NBA, even the ABA days, where I'm like, I don't think I know that much about that. And then I have to, I like to use resources like Claude and ChatGPT and TikTok.
Which most people didn't have back then, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing is you can just get whatever you want this quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love it. That's the end of the first quarter. Grab something cold. Go check out Sloane Knows on all your podcast platforms. We'll be right back.
Started as a kid with a team to believe in. Every win and loss left my heart still beating.
Welcome back. We are back with Sloane Knows, NBA's most wise 18-year-old, I'm just going to claim it, in the world. Sloane, let's talk about the reality of now being 18-year-old and running a podcast. I believe you're a senior in high school, right?
I am. Yes.
And you're living in Los Angeles.
I am.
And I can relate to this world as my daughter. She's a freshman.
Okay.
We haven't yet had to start digging into the highly competitive world of colleges.
Yes.
But you mentioned earlier you took the ACT or
Yeah.
the SAT.
Yes.
Are you considering going to college?
Yes, and I have some pretty exciting news for you, JR. I'm going to Vanderbilt. I'm going to
What?
Vanderbilt in Nashville.
Sloane Knows is coming to Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
Well, I would just tell you this. My children, in terms of Vanderbilt, just so you know, and for everybody listening, it has become, and also just give your dad and mom a high five because Vanderbilt is considered, and the stats, I'm sure someone may tell, number one most difficult school on the planet of Earth to get into.
Yes, that was true for this year. It was a wild ride. It was a wild ride.
You want to go to MIT? Easy. You want to go to Harvard? Easy. You want to go to Vanderbilt?
I don't know about that.
let me just tell you why. And I know all my friends from Harvard and MIT are like, JR, you're exaggerating again. Well, here's the reality of it. Yes, but what's been going on, Sloane knows, is that from the East Coast, a lot of people want to go to SEC schools.
It's true.
It's the sports, it's the passion, it's the camaraderie, it's everything. Even though I know reality, SEC schools have been losing a lot, I know, to the Big Ten, but it's still more fun. It's the weather, it's the just pandemonium, it's the what I'll call the chants, the cheering. And what's happened is people have now come out here, so it is so hard to get into schools, and everybody wants to go to a Ivy League. And Vanderbilt, having my office, just so you know, right here, our podcast booth is, I don't think I could throw a stone, but I could definitely hit a driver and get my ball to the campus of Vanderbilt.
No way.
Right here.
Oh my God, that is so exciting. Okay, well, I'm going to have to come visit in person.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
You're going to see the podcast booth is what's called a fishbowl. And so like right now, you've got people walking up and down in front of our podcast booth all day long. So,
one of the things that attracted me most to Vanderbilt, and
yes,
this might be a little biased, but I really do believe it's the most well-rounded school out there. It has everything. But I remember when I toured a bunch of colleges with my mom, and we went to 1230 Club. Is that what it's called? The restaurant. So we went to that restaurant for dinner, and we stepped on Broadway, and I was like, oh my God, this is the most magical place I've ever been in my life. I have to go to college here. Like, this is perfect. And actually, my grandma is from Memphis, Tennessee. So I have Southern roots, but I had never been to Tennessee until I toured Vandy. But I'd grown up still on my grandma telling me stories about Elvis and singing me Elvis songs. And so when my mom and I walked on Broadway after dinner and I saw that like Elvis statue thing outside of that one store. I don't know. I was like, oh wow, like this just feels everything's drawing me into this school. So I'm so excited. I'm moving in August, and it's going to be the most amazing 4 years.
So congratulations. Well, no, we're absolutely going to have to connect here, and
totally.
you'll come by and see the fun podcast where we did this actual interview. So
I love it.
You'll be able to see it.
Yes.
Well, not only that, you're also going to continue to be able to do your show here.
100%.
You're just going to have to drive to Memphis a lot because the Grizzlies
yes.
are about 3 hours away from us.
I personally think there's a world in which the Grizzlies do eventually move to Nashville. I think that would be super cool. Who knows? But I can see that maybe happening.
Well, I know a lot of people here would love that. We would love that here.
I think so. But then, you have the Titans and everything in Nashville, which is going to be super fun. And Vandy has had an incredible sports couple of years. I mean, women's basketball, men's basketball both had great runs in the tournament. Men's football, also amazing. Baseball, Vandy has the #1 women's bowling program in the country. So it's really such a well-rounded athletic department.
You're throwing out all these amazing things. Just so the coach of the bowling team is John Williams. So he's a really close friend of mine. So our sons played baseball together back in the day.
No way.
Before, call it kid pitch. We were back way back in the day. But John, legendary coach, just a legendary coach, and he found it. But you're so right. I mean, Vanderbilt.
It's amazing.
I can't be too much of a homer guy because this is my home. And as you may know, I'm a huge Tennessee Vol fan. But when it comes
by the way, I was going to say thank you for your generosity to Vanderbilt. I'm surprised you're being so lenient on
hey, this show is all about super fans everywhere they go. And trust me, I never cheer for Vanderbilt football. But when it comes to John's bowling team. I don't
Sure.
think Tennessee has a bowling team.
I don't think so either.
I'm all about cheering for Vanderbilt bowling. All right,
Yeah.
but we got to get back to you living out LA right now, because so many of our listeners are going to know more about you as an 18-year-old with this incredible career that you're undertaking and going to be able to continue while you are at Vanderbilt anchor down. What does a week actually look like for you right now?
Yeah, well, I'm currently still in high school, which is interesting times. High school is an interesting time. And I think the reason why I'm so excited for the next chapter is because it's really difficult to do this consistently when I'm also in high school. So there could be a month where I do 5 podcast interviews and I do them after school, or I, tell my math teacher, sorry, but I have to go interview Anthony Davis. I can't be at school. I feel like that should be a fair reason.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah. Or I have to take a day trip somewhere, or on a long weekend, I head to, an NBA centered event, or I go to a Clippers game or a Lakers game. And then there's also times where I really did have to put my education first and put being a kid first, because there were weeks where, I had a giant AP calculus final. And it was important to me that I was able to balance those two things. But now that high school is coming to an end, I graduate at the end of this month. I'm really excited to have so much more of a consistent schedule. So for those listening, I'd love any recommendations. Feel free to DM me on what you want to see more of. I'm really hoping to, at Vanderbilt, be really involved in the athletic department there, and hopefully do some Sloane Knows collaborations, but also continue my podcast from Vandy. And I think, college is different than high school. High school's, my school starts at 8:30 and ends at 3:30. And then I have homework and soccer practice and all the things. Yep. But in college, I don't know, you've been to college, I haven't, but I've heard it's a different type of schedule where you have a lot more free time. So hopefully then it will be a lot more consistent.
And would you think about, 'cause I do know that at Vanderbilt, you do have more free time, but the social piece is so big. At least at any college, I can only assume. I didn't go to Vanderbilt. I went to TCU, Texas Christian.
Oh, cool. Wait,
so
what is it?
Horned Frogs, the Horned Frogs.
Mm-hmm. I have a few friends going there, yeah.
It's a popular, I couldn't get in there now, but it's a great school. And I think, one of the things about college is it's just such an experience. So it's going to be very interesting for you as you're jumping into a new college arena and continuing this passion. But I agree with you. I think you're going to be able to manage your times. But I will tell you, Vanderbilt's not easy. There's going to be some studying to be done. So, I assume you're going to be doing media management. Do you already know what you want to graduate with?
So my major is going to be communications, but I'm super excited. When I visited the school, I actually sat in on a sports economics class. Okay. And though I was only there for about an hour, they talked about, there was sort of a project where you played a commissioner of a league. So there's so many classes like that I'm so excited to take. And I'm really excited I feel like I have my niche right now. My niche is basketball. Yes. I'm really excited to expand my knowledge and expand my arena, because at the end of the day, I don't just forever want to be a basketball podcaster. I want to move into talking about all things. I love how you're able to talk to fans of so many different things. That's what I want to be able to do. Talk to people from all walks of life.
Well, I have to say, for everybody listening and for a lot of the lessons that you're giving so many people that are listening, and you're only 18 and you're accomplishing so much, but becoming amazing at a niche, call it a niche, whatever everybody wants to pronounce it.
Yeah, how does that word, I don't even know how you pronounce that word. But
well, it's unique depending upon where you go in the country. But recently in a panel I did for high school students, your age, here in Nashville, the Business Professionals of America. And one of the panel discussions asked me, JR, how do you build a successful company? And I said, with dynamite. And the answer is TNT. Number one, T, you got to have a great team. And it sounds like with you've got something with Jam Street Media that's clearly invested in you and helped you to be able to get to where you are today.
The Volume. That was
The Volume. Okay, it's not Jam Street Media. It's called The Volume.
Well, I've worked with Jam Street Media, The Volume.
Okay.
Both, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that first part is T. So obviously you've done a lot with that to where people can see. The second part is the niche, however you want to say it, but you've dug in deep to become an amazing NBA person. You've been able to utilize that with the dominoes to get more and more players, which has helped raise your profile and make this an amazing podcast, which means you've done the TN pretty strong. And the last one is time. And it's all about time. And so many times, children especially, and everyone, we all expect to have all the money, all the success. Let me go get that Bitcoin. Let me find whatever it may be. But any of the athletes you're interviewing and all the most successful business folks and future podcasters and you yourself, you started when you were 13. So you've had 5 years of training and learning to be able to get to where you are today. And it may take another 5 for you to find out where you want to be. But at the end of the day, TNT, and I've always said, if you focus on those 3 things, you're going to build something that's dynamite. Boom!
I love that. That's super cool. And it is definitely true. I think one real advantage that I've found about starting early and why I suggest to start early is because first, it's okay to not know what you want to do when you grow up. I don't really know what I want to do when I grow up, but I'm doing this now, and it gives you the opportunity to try a lot of things and then see where it leads.
No, absolutely. Well, so here's the one thing that you have such a competitive advantage of.
Yeah.
And what I find fascinating about your show is, just like you mentioned briefly earlier, when folks are talking around different areas, I remember when I was a child with my grandfather, I loved watching Magic Johnson, the Lakers, take on the Celtics. I mean, that's what I did when I was just a little kid. Now, you're the one interviewing these individuals. So tell me, what's it like when you're interviewing another teenager? And in terms of that, what is the most surprising thing you have learned from those conversations? Like, what about their teenage life that shocks you?
Yeah, well, it's funny because earlier when you asked me if I was nervous for the Blake Griffin interview, and I said no, I assumed that when I was going to interview, young up and coming stars, either in college or, stars at draft lottery events or Chris Paul and Jason Tatum elite camp, etc., that I wasn't going to be nervous because I was like, well, I'm not nervous about a superstar like Blake Griffin. Why? And I realized that I actually was, because I think, like I said, again, there was so much like empty space. People don't really know about them. But quickly I learned that that's actually my favorite niche, whatever it is, out of the basketball players that I've gotten to interview, because I think it's really cool that they haven't been as explored anymore. And their story is still yet to be written. Yes. Same with me, and our stories get to be written together. We're growing together. We're shooting our shots together. And so that's been really cool to get to talk to players. And what's funny is I realize sometimes I think they might be a little bit more nervous than me, which makes me feel a little bit better about it.
I love that. Yeah. That's the best part. By the way, I would be too. I'm just telling you, if I had any time, I'm telling you, anytime I go and speak to high school students, I am significantly. And I know because I did a speech at a high school once, and I promise, it's sad, but it's just true. I had 50 kids, and they were all, literally, I saw a girl drooling. It was like the movie, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, which you may not have seen, but like it had a scene of people being so bored, someone's drooling. And I was like, what am I saying that's so boring?
That is very funny.
I thought I'm being entertaining.
Yeah.
All right, jumping back to this entertaining piece of interviewing, what have you personally found different when you interview players that are your age or very similar versus interviewing some of the older players?
I think the older players have been asked almost every question out there. And so it's very hard to ask something that's surprising fair or interesting. And so it's much harder for me to come up with questions that I think will not only make them feel comfortable, but will also be interesting for the audience. Whereas for the younger guys, something as basic as, where did you go to high school? Is so, that hasn't even been said as much. And so I think that's definitely, my preparation is very different with that. But then also sort of like we talked about at the beginning of this, JR, is like with technology and AI and everything, our worlds are so different. But the biggest thing that makes it different in sports is NIL. LeBron James was the most famous prospect in the world. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
He's more famous than Michael Jordan when Jordan came out.
Exactly.
There's no question about it.
He wasn't getting paid money. But you take a kid who's ranked, 67th. Sorry, I had to. No pun intended. But 67th in their class.
6'7". How are you supposed to do it?
6'7", who's ranked 67th, in their class, right? And Mike is definitely not a household name. It is committed to a mid-major school. They're making still a decent amount of money. And I do think that changes things. But it's also really interesting. It also makes the interviews more interesting because they have worked with brands. It's not like they're just being thrown into this world that they've never been a part of. It sort of starts even in middle school. I mean, there's middle schoolers who are already super famous basketball players. So it's just a different world now.
I'm watching them. They're here in Nashville. So
yes, they are.
The world has changed, and now it's time for the Desert Fan Island Sloane Knows edition. All right, Sloane, you got to pretend we're going to go to Golden State for you. You're by yourself. You got the entire arena, just you, all alone
Chase
with the
Center.
Jumbotron. Okay, it's like a Desert Fan Island. You're there, all by yourself. You get to watch on the Jumbotron one movie over and over and over again. One musical artist, one food, one drink, and you get to take one person. So here we go with the very first one. What one movie are you going to be watching over and over again?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm stuck between two movies right now,
I'll let you choose two.
I just saw Michael for the first time.
Okay.
And I adored it. I thought it was the best movie ever, and I just sort of want to like dance around to it always. Yep. So that's one of my thoughts. But
is this the second one? Is it this?
No. I think I'm gonna pick Elf. Just because I feel like that's
great call.
That you could watch always get a laugh. And I think that if I was sitting, leaning back on the chairs at Chase Center, I'd be like, yeah, I'm just gonna chill and watch Elf.
You did it good. No one has said Elf yet before.
Really?
So,
I'm the first?
Nobody. You're the very first.
I feel
That's
proud.
Over 50. You've nailed it. All right. One musical artist. Everybody wants to know. Who are you choosing?
Oh, I would pick Harry Styles.
Okay. But
yeah.
He's talented.
I'm a huge Harry Styles super fan. In my life, I've had like 3 main topics that I've really obsessed over. And when I was younger, it was Alex Morgan in the U.S. women's national soccer team. Awesome. Then it was Harry Styles, and then it was basketball. So those are like my 3 things. So I would definitely pick Harry Styles.
All right. One food.
One food. Does candy count as a food?
Sure. Good for you.
Okay, I'd probably pick frozen Milk Duds. That's my favorite candy in the world. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of hate for that. Okay. But if I'm watching a movie, I love frozen Milk Duds. I don't really like them when they're not frozen. They have to be frozen, and then I pour them in my popcorn.
That's not bad. It's into popcorn. If it's melting a little bit, it's a little chocolatey.
It's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Good.
So yeah,
unique.
Frozen Milk Duds.
Wow. All right. One drink. What's your favorite beverage?
Oh gosh. Okay. I think I'd pick either a Diet Coke or an icy. I think I just want to be.
You really are going heavy sugar. Okay.
I know. I'm a sugar addict. I know it's bad. It's the kid in me. Like, come on. Hopefully, as I go to Nashville, I'm gonna mature a little bit, and maybe I'll start having some like sweet tea or something as my drink. But for now,
More sugar.
Well, yeah, but it's still a little bit more sophisticated than like a blue icy. But no, I think I do like a blue icy. Yeah.
Yep. No stains on the teeth. All right. One person. You get to bring one person. Who you bringing?
Okay, I'm gonna keep going with this unique trend that I'm going on. My person is gonna be my dog.
Okay, take it. What kind of dog is it?
My dog Cruz. He's a King Charles Cavalier. He's named after Victor Cruz on the Giants. And I think if I really was alone in Chase Center with my frozen Milk Duds,
you want your
watching
dog. You want your dog there.
And Harry Styles and my slushie, I just want to like cuddle with my dog and chill.
All right, but I'm going to change it up now. You get to take one NBA player and one WNBA player to be with you. One NBA player and one WNBA player. Who are the other two sitting side by side with you with the dog?
Okay, the WNBA player would be Angel Reese because she's so interesting and so cool. And there's so many things that I'd want to ask her when the cameras weren't rolling. Yep. And then the NBA player I'd want to take is Steph Curry. He's, one of my favorite players of all time. He's the chef, the greatest shooter of all time. And I actually haven't gotten to interview him. I've gotten to interview a lot of my favorite Warriors, but that would just be a dream, especially if I was in Chase Center. I love it.
I love it. I think he has a home here in Nashville. Sloane knows, just so you
know.
I think he does. I think he's a member of the new country club called the Bounty Club.
Oh my God, I might have to camp outside his house for an interview. I'm very excited.
I think he may be coming out here. All right, that's the third quarter buzzer. Don't go anywhere. Leave us a review while you're at it, and we'll be right back with the buzzer beater with Sloane Knows, a future NBA Media Hall of Famer.
Started as a kid with a team to believe in. Every win and loss left my heart still beating.
We're back. The final quarter. Let's finish strong. Sloane, here's what I keep coming back to. You're doing something that most adults never do. You found a thing you love and you turned it into something real. What do you want young people, kids even younger than you, to take from your story?
Yeah, I said it earlier. I think it was in the second quarter when I said
You
this,
did.
but if you don't shoot, you can't make it. I've gotten a million no's. I've, written emails, no response. I've made phone calls, no response. I've gone up to people in person who have flat out ignored me. But eventually, if you continue to shoot your shot, you're going to make it. I love to talk about basketball. I'm not good at basketball. If I took 100 free throws, I'd probably make one. But that one, that you just got to make one, And so that would really be my advice. If you have a dream, shoot your shot and eventually you're going to score.
I love it. Is there any pressure that comes with this? I mean, your show now has a lot of attention. I think millions of people and likes.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel the weight of needing to keep delivering?
A little bit, I think. I mean, something that I get worried about is, will people still want to hear me when I'm not as much of a unique voice anymore, right? Because in 10 years, when I'm 28 years old, sure, I'll still be in the gender minority, maybe of sports media, but hopefully that's changed. And I sometimes worry that it won't be as interesting. For a while, I asked people when I was younger, I'd say, I'm 14. What would your 14-year-old self think about you now? But as I get older and older, that age doesn't feel as interesting anymore, So that's something that I do worry about.
I love it. I love it. Well, what do you hope Sloane knows? If you think about it, you mentioned it before. You're right now very focused on the niche of NBA. You're looking to grow it. You're going to be going to college, so you're going to be able to differentiate. You're going to learn so many new things.
Yeah.
Other sports. I mean, maybe you're able to actually interview some of the stars of the Vanderbilt bowling team.
I hope so.
Yes. So years from now, what is the version of this that makes you the most proud?
Wow. I think
I'm going to give you some big time questions here. Sloane knows you deserve it.
So, when I was growing up, I feel like that was like the prime of YouTube. I'm sure that was the same with your kids. Like my parents would give me my iPad on like a plane or a long car ride, and I would just watch a million YouTube videos. And my favorite videos were watching people go on the Ellen DeGeneres show. But it wasn't celebrities that I loved. It was, Vine stars and little kids with crazy talents and sort of one-hit wonders. That's always what I love to see, because I thought she was bringing light to people that weren't always in the spotlight. And so when I'm an adult, I hope that I'm able to create a show. And I don't know what it's going to look like because, media is changing so much.
Oh, yes.
But I would love to be a modern version of what she or an Oprah or something like that was able to do.
I love it. I love it. All right, it's time for the buzzer beater rapid fire. Okay, Sloane, I'm going to give you questions. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Let's just go with it. Favorite athlete of all time. Number one question. Favorite athlete of all time.
Steph Curry.
Best NBA arena, in your opinion.
Madison Square Garden.
One NBA game you wish you could have been at in person.
Warriors Thunder when Steph hit the dagger.
All right. Muggsy or Minute? Who wins in a game of one-on-one?
I mean, Minute. You like step on Muggsy probably. Who knows?
Hardest question you've ever had to ask a guest.
Oh my gosh. I have to think about that one. Can I skip?
Skip.
Okay.
What's your favorite college basketball team outside of Vanderbilt?
Oh, I think Yale. Like we said, my dad went to Yale. And
they've made it to the tourney.
They do. And when Danny Wolf was on Yale, they always have a lot of, I like underdogs. So I think that they always have like a cool underdog story that's fun to watch.
Funniest moment from behind the scenes of the show that our listeners haven't seen before.
Oh,
or don't know.
Well,
about.
Yeah. So actually, when I interviewed Draymond in San Francisco, we were planning on interviewing him late in the afternoon, but the game before he choked Rudy Gobert and got suspended. And something about the NBA suspension rules are you can't be in the arena if you're suspended a certain amount of time before game time.
Right.
And the Warriors were playing the Thunder that next day. So I had to interview Draymond at 5 a.m. and I had woken up and I had gotten all ready and everything. And I was so worried, and I'm sitting there and he hasn't come yet. And I'm like, oh my God, it's 5 a.m. and I'm in the Warriors arena. And all of a sudden I hear someone be like, Sloane, in his like loud voice. And he comes in a matching purple jumpsuit and a fanny pack. Like nothing in the world had just happened. And it was not just funny, but it also showed to me like what I love about him, because he doesn't let other people get to him. He beats to his own drum. And by beating to his own drum, he's now won 4 NBA championships.
All right. As a high school student, what's the most expensive ticket you've ever had to purchase to an NBA game?
Oh, well, I do work at a Swedish candy store. So I
so cool. We could have talked about that too.
Which is really exciting. If you live in LA and you're listening to this, it's called Candy. It's on Montana in Santa Monica.
I love it.
With a very good selection of Swedish candy. I would say other than basketball, that's maybe like, I have a lot of knowledge about that.
More sugar. Keep it consistent, Sloane.
Yeah.
Keep it consistent.
And so most tickets usually that I've purchased have been either my parents have been generous enough to gift them to me, or they've been gifted to me by teams. But
money.
So yeah, I don't think I can answer that, but
because you've been gifted them or found up to your friends. That's even better.
Yeah, which has been super lucky. But next year I'm going to college. I'm going to have to start paying for my own thing. So I guess the most expensive ticket will probably be the first Grizzlies game I go to, because that will probably be the first ticket I pay for, unless the Grizzlies would like to invite me. That'd be super cool. Also,
or move to Nashville, make it easier. Then it's a whole lot less expensive.
That is true. Then I wouldn't have to pay for transportation.
That's exactly right. All right, we got to go back to that other question, because people want to know, because you've interviewed so many people. You've asked thousands, maybe 1 million questions to these super athletes. Hardest question you've ever had to ask them?
Okay, so I have a funny answer to what the hardest question is. Yeah. So because I am a teenager and I'm young and I'm trying to bring a positive light, I always try to make my questions super positive, and I love asking players to highlight other athletes. I always think that that's really nice. That's something that you also do, which is cool. So I was in a back tunnel at Fanatics Fest, and there was people, I believe it was Fanatics Fest or it was another event like that. And there was millions of people around Shaq. And I was like, I'm going to be able to ask Shaq one question, and there's 1 million people around. How do I get his attention? So I think in my head, I'm going to ask him something where he can highlight another athlete. It's just easy. It's not going to take a long
You're
answer.
so good at it already. Look at that. You're figuring it out.
So I think to ask him, who is an underrated player in the league that you would like to highlight? So I push through everyone, and I'm like thinking in my head, like, this is such an easy question, whatever. And I go, Shaq. And he like looks at me, he looks down at me, and I'm like, finally, this is my moment. Oh my God. And I go, who is an underrated player in the league you want to highlight? And he like thinks for a second, and he goes, everyone, and walks away. And I was like,
Shaq answer.
Okay. So the easy question that I was just trying to ask to be like super positive and everything. And because also, as an interviewer, as a podcaster, you have to be quick on your feet and think of something to say after they say that. And when you say everyone, that's like answering any question with yes or no.
Crushed like, he crushed it because he knows he's been there before. Yeah.
Exactly. He's been there before. So that was Shaq's media training coming into play. But that was definitely a funny one and a hard one for me.
All right. NBA finals are almost here. Go on record. 2026 final. Who's going to win it?
I hate to say it, but I think it's going to be the Thunder. I think it will be Knicks Thunder, and I do think the Thunder are going to go back to back. Yeah.
I know. It's going to make your parents very sad. They want those Knicks to win. I know they do.
I mean, so do I. If the Warriors aren't in it, I feel like I have to go back to my family and support them, but I think it's going to be the Thunder. I just don't know who could beat them.
All right. Where can our listeners find you, Sloane Knows?
Yeah. Find me at Sloane Knows on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, any social media, at Sloane Knows. And Sloane has an E at the end. Very important. Not like the urinal company, which doesn't have an E at the end. That is SLOAN. But this Sloane, no, not a urinal, has an E.
Way to pivot, Sloane. Way to pivot.
Thank you.
You are 18 years old. You're sitting across from legends, asking questions nobody even thought to ask, and doing it with confidence, humor, and a basketball IQ that frankly puts most of us to shame. You are proof and passion that has no age requirement, and that sometimes the best person in the room is the one who hasn't stopped being a fan. This is the Superfan Diaries. I'm J.R. Green. Follow, review, and nominate your favorite Superfans. And go check out Sloane Knows on every podcast platform, TikTok and Instagram you can find at Sloane Knows with the proper E.
Exactly.
And remember, If you make one person smile today, you've had a great day. Make them laugh, even better. Go get them.